Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to work on a number of variations of Dvipada Viparita Dandasana, which is the two-legged inverted staff pose. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. If you don't have a chair, a yoga chair, then you can potentially do a variation using some other props. And this is also a good option for those who find lying back through the chair perhaps a little too strong. We can prop up a bolster by putting two bricks together in the middle of the mat, and we can add height to that by putting a folded blanket on top of those two bricks. Then the bolster can sit across those bricks. So we've set up what we would refer to as crossed bolsters. Ordinarily, we'd use a second bolster underneath here, but I'm assuming at home many people don't have two bolsters, so that's why we're using the bricks and the blanket. So we've created what we used to call a seesaw. When we were children, one of those things in the playground, a child would sit on one end and then another child would sit on the other end, and we'd rock each other up and down. So we want to be able to sit the buttocks on one end of the bolster, take the head over the other end of the bolster. Let's sit and make sure that the buttock flesh is drawing under towards the feet. So the back of the pelvis, lower back is supported there. And then when you lie back, you should feel the back of the neck and the base of the skull just coming over the front edge of your bolster. So depending on how long your body is as to how you position yourself there. But we want to feel that we've got the head and the hips having that seesaw effect. Equal weight. Now we can drape the arms down to the floor. That may feel like a long way away depending on how bulky your props are. And we'll change the arm position in a moment. But if this feels too strong, perhaps it's a strong stretch across the upper chest, you could interlock the fingers and hold the hands on the abdomen. Now the knees can stay bent. You could take the feet hip width apart and you could stay with this. This can be quite restful for the lower back and particularly helpful for those who do tend to feel tender in the lower back in this pose. But if you can slide the heels away. One leg at a time is fine. Slide the heels away. The feet can stay hip width because that just allows for the broadening of the sacrum and the pelvic abdominal area. Now, if there's a tendency to hyperextend the knees here, you may want to roll the blanket up and put that underneath the knees. But just notice when you straighten the legs, how the weight wants to drag towards the hip side. So you might need to slide your body a little further over to the head side and try again at straightening the legs. But do make sure your head is supported, neck and head supported. Slide the heels away. The hips can descend as you slide the heels away, but still the head is tipping backwards over the front edge of your bolster. And we observe how the front of the body lengthens here. So you've got the broadening of the pelvic abdominal area because you've set your feet hip width apart, but you've also got the length from the pubis through to the diaphragm region, that lift through the diaphragm region, and the length all the way to the breastbone. So to add to that length, we can take hold of the elbows and stretch the arms overhead. We still want to feel that the head is thrown backwards. The front of the neck is lengthening. The back of the neck is supported. And we allow the spinal muscles to soften and spread. So notice if, having taken the arms overhead and potentially working with the legs straight as well, does that cause the back muscles to grip? Can you soften and spread the spinal muscles onto the bolster? And if you can't stop the gripping, if you can't soften, try bending the knees for a moment. Keep the arms overhead and just see, does that help? Spinal muscles at ease. If it does become too strong, you could release the arms, rest the arms out to the sides again, or with the fingers interlocked on the abdomen. If having the legs straight still suits you, keep the legs straight, swap the cross of the forearms. Steady your breath. Now you can stay longer, but because there are a number of variations that I'd like to demonstrate, we're going to come out. Take the arms back over the body and lift the head. You might like to use your hands to lift the head. Slide the buttocks to the floor. So you bend the knees, slide the buttocks to the floor, and you can let the head rest on your bolster for a moment. Let the arms drape down to the floor. Feel the spinal muscles soften. Then as you're ready, you can press into the hands to lift yourself up out of the pose. I have another variation to show you if you don't have a yoga chair. Now the yoga chairs have no back. That's why it's easier for us to step through and do our supported back bend. But if you've got no yoga chair and normal dining chairs, you could potentially do this variation of the pose. We have the two chairs facing each other. So you bring them in to touch. And then we're going to put a bolster over the seam of the chairs. The bolster is running the length of your mat, and we come to lie back over that. Now, if you don't have a bolster, you could potentially use a number of rolled up blankets. Remember that we want to have the sacrum supported, lower back supported, and the back of the neck supported, as the neck is in extension. We come to sit on the front end of the bolster, draw the tailbone to the knees, you lean back, and then you feel, where is the end of that bolster? Drape the head over the edge of the bolster. So maneuver your body enough that you feel the head is draping backwards, but still the back of the neck and the base of the skull are supported. The arms can rest on the seats of the chair. Now it does depend on whether you've got the chair backs there. You may need to keep the arms in quite close. Perhaps the fingers are interlocked across the abdomen. But we will work to stretch the arms overhead in a moment. You can try stretching the legs out straight. Now, whether that suits your back or not, because we're up on more height, it could potentially be strong in the lower back, depending on you and your body. But see if you can keep the spinal muscles relaxed. Then, potentially you can stretch the arms overhead. You can be more active in the arms and the legs here. Roll the inner thighs down and peel the outer feet back towards the outer hips, stretching the arms overhead, hands shoulder width, palms facing each other. Then, to be a little more restful, you could catch hold of the elbows and let the arms drape back and down. And again, we can spend quite some time here with smooth, steady breathing. Now, because I'm wanting to move on and continue on with some other variations of this pose, I'm going to come up and out of the pose. We can hold the head, we can press the hands into the seats of the chairs, we come to sit up, and just for a moment sit on the bolster and find a neutral. Now for the next setup, we have a yoga chair that does not have a back, so we can step the legs through the chair. And I've put a blanket down on the front of the chair or on the seat of the chair so that the front edge is more padded and comfortable for the shoulder blades to come over. We can use bricks depending on your lower back as to whether you need to elevate the feet. You could potentially set your bricks up like so. Either height can work, and I've got the bricks hip width. So when you come into the pose, you'll have your heels on the bricks and the balls of the feet reaching the wall. And working with just that little bit of extra height can often take that feeling of pressure out of the lumbar spine. I'm going to demonstrate without the bricks, and we start with the chair reasonably close to the wall. If you stand with your body alongside the chair facing the wall, you've got the pubis in the same plane as the back of the seat. Then step the foot up the wall. It's probably somewhere between halfway up and hip height. It's not very high. That's just a good starting point as to where the chair is relative to the wall. Then we're going to step one foot through the back of the chair and sit down. This is the safest way to come into it. Once we've sat down, then we can take the other foot through. So we've got both legs through, we're facing backwards. Now to come back, we need to scoot the hips towards the back edge of the seat of the chair. Now we can lean back into the hands and draw the tailbone and the buttock flesh towards the knees. So already we're lengthening the lower back. The back of the pelvis, the sacrum, comes towards the back of the seat of the chair. And then when we lie down, we want to feel that the shoulder blades are touching the chair. So can you draw your shoulder blades under? So the pressure of the front of the seat is helping to push the shoulder blades into the chest, helping the chest to open. And we want to feel that we can lean back with the head. So you see how I'm sliding a little bit. The head's thrown back, but I can still feel the lower tip of the shoulder blades on the front of the seat of the chair. A common mistake that I see students make is they go too far over the chair, and then when it comes to straightening the legs, there's no capacity to really press the thighs down. So do make sure that you've got the front edge of the chair touching the shoulder blades, the lower tip of the shoulder blades. Then holding the chair with your hands, bring the balls of the feet onto the wall, whether your heels are on bricks or on the floor, and then you've got to slide the chair away from the wall. So press the feet to the wall, slide the chair away from the wall as you straighten the legs. The inner thighs roll down. So keep the toes pointing up, feet parallel, inner thighs roll down. Now, you can potentially keep your hands here holding the arms of the chair. You could also have the fingers interlocked across the abdomen, but you can also stretch the arms overhead, which adds to the stretch on the front body, as well as contributing to the opening of the shoulders. So as you take the arms overhead, counterbalance that with the action in the thighs. Press the thighs down. So at no point should the back of the seat of the chair impede your action or impede your capacity to press the thighs down. Sometimes holding the arms overhead with straight elbows can be tiring. You can always go to the catch of the elbows. The weight of the arms contributing to the length in the front body and the opening in the shoulders. can you relax the neck muscles? Sometimes it's helpful to just move the head a little bit. See that the neck muscles can soften and relax. Swap the cross of the forearms. If at any stage you get pins and needles in the fingers, it's better to release this grip, release from having the arms overhead, and just bring the hands back, whether you're holding the arms of the chair next to your hips or whether the fingers are interlocked across the abdomen. Then to come out of the pose, we reach the hands back to the arms of the chair near the hips. You can bend one leg, have that foot on the floor, the other foot can dig into the wall, and maybe you can get your elbows onto the seat of the chair. Dig the elbows into the seat as you come to sit all the way up. Then we shift the hips back onto the seat. Rest the hands on your thighs, separate the feet, and sit straight. Resist that tendency to want to collapse the chest. We've just spent some time opening the chest so that you can maintain the lift there, but allow the spine to come back to neutral. Then, as you anticipate coming out of the chair, again, it can be helpful to stay seated and take the hips further back, step one leg out, and then you can stand up and step the other leg out. In case that variation, the previous variation, doesn't suit, the neck feels uncomfortable, the lower back's really uncomfortable, then we can add in some extra props. So the second chair doesn't have to be a yoga chair per se, and it needs to be a significant height. So it could potentially be a little stool that you have. But we're going to elevate the lower legs, the calves, the shins onto that extra height we have. And we have a bolster here for the head. So the head is supported. So again, we'll step through. One leg stepping through, we sit down, and the other leg comes through. Then we slide the buttock flesh towards the wall. The knees will have to come out on either sides of your other chair. And then as you lie back, once more, feel the shoulder blades, draw them under so the lower tip of the shoulder blades is feeling the front edge of the chair. And then we're going to bring the feet up onto our height and take the head back. We're going to organize the bolster in a moment, but let's straighten the legs. So slide the chair out from the wall. You've got the calf muscles on your support, the feet on the wall. Hip width feet is good because that helps to broaden the pelvis. Then the head support. Now, if the bolster's quite small, you may need to build that up with blankets on top of the bolster and find out where do you need to be. Is it better for you to turn the bolster up onto that oval shape so the crown can press down? And even still, that may be uncomfortable in the neck. So it may be better for you to take more let's say the back corner of the head onto the bolster. So there's a little more length in the neck. Shoulders. If you're holding the arms of the chair, the shoulders are pressed back so the collarbones are broad. So here with the lower legs lifted significantly, that can really help maintain the length in the lower back. And perhaps you're happy enough to take your arms overhead with the forearms resting on the bolster. Do make sure you're not too top heavy though. You don't want to feel like you're going to fall out and fall onto the bolster. So you may want to just play with sliding the body back through the chair and then again adjusting yourself so that there's still some weight in the legs. So this could be a good variation to do during the first few days of the menstrual cycle if you're feeling tender in the lower back or feeling that it's too strong a stretch for the abdomen, that pelvic abdominal area, when you're trying to take the feet to the floor. Swap the cross of the forearms. Then as you prepare to come out of the pose, then we'll step one foot down, other foot down. Perhaps it's best for you to dig the elbows into the chair to help give you support. Maybe you need to hold your head with one hand to help lift the head up, and then come to sit up and take the hips back onto the seat. Sit straight, hands resting on your thighs. Neutral spine all the way up through the neck. And sometimes after having done Viparita Dandasana through the chair, it's helpful to do a mild twist. You can bring your knees and feet together and gently twist to the right and then to the left. Once more to the right and to the left. And then come back to neutral. Then to step out of the chair, it's best if you take your hips back to the front of the seat, take one leg out, and then you can stand up and take the second leg out. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.